Good morning. You're watching All You Need to Know on Bloomberg Quint. I'm Darshan Mehta. Let's take a look at what happened across the world, and you can see the pain that's coming in. The US markets, the Nasdaq was down 4%. The other US markets down anywhere between 3 to 3.5%. So there was pain that was happening. Across Europe, there was pain that is there. And if we see what's happening with the Asian markets, the Nikkei is down almost 3%. The S&P is down almost 2%. Taiwan is down almost 5% in trade currently. And more importantly, what will be, the state of our markets? Pull up the SGX Nifty, and it's down 240 points at this point of time. So expect an extremely weak start to our trade. But remember also, yesterday a lot of long positions were taken on the Nifty, the Bank Nifty. They will get unwound before any kind of fresh shorts happen. So expect pain in our market today. If you're looking at what happened in the ADR side, across the board selling, couple of stocks managed to do well, but Tata Motors for one didn't, Infosys didn't. So IT as a pack is not seeing buying pressure at this point of time. ICICI Vedanta and Dr. Reddy's managed to end with a positive bias. Now, if you're looking at what happened with the Nifty was up 1.5%, but it was basically the mid cap and small cap end of the market that managed to outperform. And the Nifty was also up on account of the banks that did well. Pull up the sectors that did well. The Nifty Bank was up 3%. Look at the PSU banking index, it was up almost 6% in trade. Now, if you're looking at what's happened as far as some of the sectors are concerned, metal, auto and pharma, which have been relatively underperformers, did manage to see short covering that came in. Probably again today, those positions will get unwound. As far as this week is concerned, media, energy and pharma are the sectors which have managed to give a positive bias. What has not done this week are the IT index, FMCG index and the real estate index. Flows, FIs continue to remain sellers. They sold in 1,200 crores, DIs bought in 1,500 crores, but on a month-to-date basis, it pretty much squares out for itself. Now, the Nifty was up over 150 points yesterday. The banks, ICICI, Axis, SBI and HDFC Bank managed to move up. The larger companies, TCS, Infosys didn't participate. Tech was weak, pharma was weak in trade yesterday. As far as the Nifty, as far as the F&O market is concerned, the Nifty futures saw fresh buying. But look at the open interest build up on the Nifty Bank. It was close to almost 30% and fresh long positions were taken. So probably today unwinding will happen in trade today, yesterday. If you're looking at where the trade setup is, put writers, the biggest position that they've taken right now is the 10,000. That's the big support level that they're looking at, and they're writing from 10,000 right up to 10,500. And call writers are active from 10,500 right up to 11,000 levels. Now, over the past few days, we've seen that call writers haven't been aggressive at lower levels, but the scene certainly will change today. You will see that these red lines will actually come down, and there will be high green lines that will come in today on account of long unwinding. As far as the stock in the F&O band is concerned, only IDBI Bank is there. The Nifty PCR stayed relatively unchanged. It moved up from 1.11 to 1.16, but there was a big jump on the Nifty Bank PCR, which almost managed to double. Four stocks I want to highlight. First of all is Ramco Cements. Now, didn't move much, but look at the open interest build up, 15%, and that too on the short side. So probably something is definitely cooking. Kaveri Seeds saw fresh buying on open interest build up of 10%. The counter was up 5%. You have counters like Shriram Transport, which saw open interest build up of 6%. The counter moved up 12%. And the last stock I want to highlight is Piramal Enterprises. Look at the amount of short covering that came in. Open interest build up was 11% lower, and the counter moved up 11%. But these are all the domestic cues. Let's go across to Paul Allen for all the top international headlines.
China is said to be planning to increase the number of companies it deems systematically important. It's a sign that policymakers are concerned about ballooning national debt. We're told regulators led by the PBOC are to shortlist at least 50 of the largest banks, insurers and brokerages as important. Those named will be subject to extra capital requirements and may face new rules on leverage. Hurricane Michael has reached Florida as the most powerful storm to hit the U.S. mainland since 1992. It's one of the four strongest in recorded history. Winds are gusting to 240 kilometers per hour. We could see a storm surge more than 4 meters high. Michael is forecast to drop 30 centimeters of rain on the Panhandle before moving north across Georgia, Alabama, and the Carolinas. 2 years out from the Tokyo Olympics, the price tag has ballooned to $25 billion. An official report shows that the current exchange rate costs are nearly 4 times higher than the initial winning bid of $7.3 billion. Only last December, the organising committee said the budget was $12 billion, before Tokyo Governor Yuriko Koike said $7 billion more would be needed. Global News 24 hours a day, on air and at TikTok on Twitter, powered by more than 2,700 journalists and analysts in more than 120 countries. I'm Paul Allen. This is Bloomberg.
I think about people and institutions people build to outlast them, and I think about this globally. That's the three key things that we always think about when we say empowerment and empowering. You know, being an American company, in fact, I always say that we are a multinational company that is an American company. So we are fundamentally dependent on and also proud of the American values and the trust in American institutions and values that the world has. And so clearly, that has served us well, and quite frankly, even today, I think they serve us very well, because I think you know, our form of government, our form of democracy, with all of the debate we have, our ability to be able to set an example for what is a place where a lot of people of diverse backgrounds can come together, have a debate, and move and make progress, I think is what, you know, makes America unique, and us being born in that culture is what gives us credibility. And of course, we can't take any of this for granted, either as a nation or as a company, and we have to earn it every day. And somebody described the, you know, trust is this formula, which is it's about having values that are consistently applied every day or in over time, and that's what engenders trust.
Are the trade tensions affecting your business, though, do you think?
In trade tensions, here, I think we're going through this phase where everybody has recognized that, you know, let's call it the phase of globalization, has not created equitable growth in all parts of the world or in any country to all parts of the society. So every country is re-looking at what are their relations around trade that help them thrive, because, you know, that's key. I mean, I think every country will put their country's interests first and look at what makes most sense. And what is it that's our responsibility as a multinational company is to sort of say, what are we contributing in each country? How are we making small businesses more productive, or public sector more efficient, or multinationals in that community country more competitive? If we do that, we're good. If we don't, we have a challenge, because I think long-term stability for us comes from our ability to create more surplus and more opportunity outside of what we do.
From the commodity space, oil prices declined more than 2% in the overnight session, as now concerns are shifting from the supply side to demand side. And now Hurricane Michael has in fact hit Florida, and it is the strongest U.S. storm to hit since 1992. And this storm has actually shut down 40% of the oil production in the Gulf of Mexico. But in terms of other news, API is likely to report an inventory buildup of nearly 10 million barrels for last week. So we'll have to wait and watch how the entire situation pans out. But as far as base metals are concerned, the index itself declined about 1%, and prices in fact fell on demand concerns on the back of a fall in the equity markets that we saw in the overnight session. Nickel posted its biggest drop in about 3 weeks. Zinc and lead also declined more than 1% each, while we had the likes of copper and aluminium, which closed marginally lower. Tin was the only metal that was up in the green, and it closed higher for the second straight day. Now, all of this actually bode well for the gold prices, which in fact came back into action as haven demand eclipses US rate views.
Among the stocks that you should watch out for in trade today include Zydus Wellness, which is said to be close to buying Complan and Glucon-D from Heinz Kraft in a deal which is said to be worth 4,500 crores. That's according to Times of India report. Watch out for that name. PTC India has signed a pact with Bangladesh to supply 200 megawatts of power for 15 years. And over the 15-year period, they will be earning $1.8 billion. Watch out for that name. You also have an order win coming in from for ITI Limited, 334 crores is the value. You have Cochin Shipyard, which has said that they will consider share buyback in their meeting on October 16th. You also have Indiabulls Integrated Services and Sorrel Infra Resources, which will be in focus. Now, Indiabulls Integrated Services has said that the reorganization committee, they have recommended the demerger of the company's non-financial business segments to Sorrel Infra Resources. So let's see how this reorganization of the businesses amongst the within the Indiabulls group of companies pans out for both of them. You also have Dilip Bilcon, which has been declared as the lowest bidder for a 1,000 crore EPC project that was given by Mahanadi Coalfields. And finally, GE Power India, some negative development there. They've said that they will shut its factory at Shahabad with effect from today. Earlier, the company had also reported that its Vadodara plant has been shut from August 27th. And they've also said that they're exploring various options to dispose the land and machinery. So some negative development there. But having said that, given the possible market sell-off based on global clues and what the SGX Nifty futures are suggesting, individual stock movements may not be that large or important, but those are stocks that you should watch out for.
Government of India has lowered the excise duty charge on aviation turbine fuel to around 11% from an earlier charge rate of 14%. Now, this move will definitely result into a positive reaction for the aviation companies, as it was not anticipated, especially after government had introduced custom duty on the imported ATF. Now, this move would bring in some relief for the aviation industry, which has been reeling under the pressure of price competition, weaker rupee and higher crude prices. Now, if you see the current tax structure, it will be around 11% excise duty charge on the domestic routes plus state VAT, which varies between 20 to 30%. For Udan and regional routes, the center taxes are different. It's around 2% excise charged on Udan routes, and for VAT, VAT for regional and Udan routes is in the range of around 1 to 4%. For international routes, there is no taxes charged. So the company that benefit the most will be the one which has more domestic routes, and that will be Indigo. If you see, Indigo has deployed nearly 85% of its total capacity on the domestic routes, and they are paying a higher tax rate. So that will be the company that will be benefiting most. SpiceJet will be followed, as it has around 70% of its capacity deployed on the domestic routes, while Jet Group has only 36% of its capacity deployed on the domestic routes. Now, if you see the fuel cost per seat kilometer of the airline companies that they incurred in the first quarter of financial year 2019, it was in the range of around 1.5 to 1.6 rupees per kilometer. Now, this would have been lower by around 2.6% for Indigo if this new rates would have been applicable, while for SpiceJet and Jet Airways, it would have been lower by around 1.9 and 1.3% respectively.
Yes. Okay, the big number for today will be TCS. If you're looking at it, the first time ever, we are anticipating margins, for the first time in 7 quarters, we are anticipating margins to come in above the 26% mark, and the rupee move has actually to do a lot with that. Now, if you're looking at the top line, we're seeing dollar revenues grow by almost 2.8%. We're seeing income from operations grow up almost 6%, and this is in rupee term, and because of the movement in how the rupee has depreciated against the dollar, this growth will be much higher. EBIT, we are seeing up almost 11%, which means EBITDA margins of 26.2% with a profit growth of 8% over the last quarter. Mainly, if you're looking at it, every 1% depreciation that the rupee has against the dollar, that will lead to a 20 to 25 basis point improvement in margin, which is why you're seeing margins come in above the 26% mark in trade. The last time the operational margins were almost 26% was way back in the third quarter of FY17. Even the revenues are expected to pick up. Management shows confidence in the recovery that is there, especially in terms of America, in terms of the BFSI segment. The deal wins have supported the growth in over the past few quarters. They have closed up a lot of deals, so that is something that will benefit them. What do you watch out for in TCS? First of all, updates on the BFSI sector and the North American market. What exactly is there? Implication of the weakening rupee on margins in terms of guidance, what they are expecting, and what are the key tie-ups and deal sizes that they're looking at in the balance of the year. So that's something that you need to watch out for TCS.
Zee Entertainment reported its Q2 numbers yesterday post-market. Now, if you see the numbers, they were pretty strong and ahead of the analyst estimates. Now, if you see the headline numbers, the revenue of the company was higher by close to 24% to 1,976 crore rupees, while the EBITDA jumped around 37% to close to 650 crore rupees. Margins also expanded by around 300 basis points to 33%, while the net profit of the company was lower by around 38% to close to 386 crore rupees, and that was because of no exceptional gains and lower other income seen by the company in the second quarter of financial year 2019. On the segment-wise, if you see, the domestic advertising revenue grew around 23%, while the domestic subscription revenue grew 26% compared to last year. Now, brokerages have by and large maintained their estimates post the second quarter numbers. CLSA has maintained its buy rating but has cut down the target price marginally to around 670 rupees from 675. Now, they said that the Q2 numbers were ahead of the estimates, led by strong growth in the domestic advertising revenues. Also, the operational metric numbers reported by Zee Z5 are very encouraging according to the brokerage. Now Credit Suisse, they have also maintained their buy rating but have cut down the target price to around 560 from 640, but that was because they have lowered their valuation multiple on Zee Entertainment and not their estimates. Now they said that it was another strong quarter for Zee with the base business doing extremely well. They also pointed out the company's EBITDA margin rose despite rising investments in their digital platform, that is Z5, which is a positive for the company.
Let's now look at the top 3 stocks to watch based on the delivery buying and selling as of yesterday. The first stock on the list is Muthoot Finance, which was up about 8.5% in trade yesterday and saw delivery buying of nearly 57 crores. The delivery volume surged about 160% as the total volume surged about 125% when compared to its 5-day average. Second stock to watch out for, Bajaj Finserv. Now that was up about nearly 10% in trade and saw delivery buying of more than 100 crores. The delivery volume surged about 112% as the total volume surged just about 80% when compared to its 5-day average. Last and final stock ahead of the results, TCS surged up more than 2% and saw delivery buying of nearly 700 crores. The delivery volume almost doubled for itself as the total volume surged 1/3 when compared to its 5-day average.
Whenever people think of climate change, they don't think of it as oh, it's happening right now. They're like, oh, we have 10, 15 years. No, it's happening right now. My name is Elsa Mengistu. I'm the Partnerships Director at 0 Hour. 0 Hour is a youth-led organization focusing on bringing a diverse perspective to environmental issues impacting everybody. We obviously had the first ever Youth Climate March. It happened in 25 cities across the world, and it kind of has just generated a lot of focus on how youth need to be involved with the climate movement, and that's kind of what 0 Hour has done so far. When we went and we lobbied in July while we were in DC, we met with a lot of elected officials and we asked them to take the No Fossil Fuel Pledge, where they would pledge not to take any fossil fuel monetary contributions. Bernie Sanders has been very adamant about supporting us. Elizabeth Warren came out and said she's not taking any more corporate contributions, and she's been helping us a little bit behind the scenes. I guess I was drawn in because they talked about how different people are impacted by climate change, and a lot of other climate organizations don't do that. We have seen a lot of our ecosystems being damaged and communities having to deal with the realities of like worsening hurricanes and weather patterns. We have hurricanes all the time, and people on the coast, their houses are destroyed. We have several branches across the country and across the world, and while we don't have like an established members list, all those sister organizations, they have their own base and their own group of people that they work with and they reach out to. And not everyone is impacted by climate change and environmental issues the same way, and we want the end goal to be to see the environmental movement to be one that's diverse and where we all collectively learn from each other. All these issues are bigger than us, and it's easier to solve something, and that's something I've learned through 0 Hour.
There's a lot to talk about over the course of the day, and you'll find all the live market action on Bloomberg Quint. There are also a few stories that you should consider reading on the website bloombergquint.com. Here they are. Senior advocate Tushar Mehta was appointed the Solicitor General of India, the second highest ranking law officer, almost a year after the post fell vacant. According to an official official order, India's Supreme Court is seeking details from the government over a controversial 8.7 billion Rafale aircraft deal from France. And IL&FS needs about 100 crores a month to keep it functioning, a senior government official told reporters. This excludes other contractual and repayment obligations of the cash-strapped company, the official said. Okay, that's all you need to know going into trade today. Up next is Indian Open, so stay tuned to Bloomberg Quint.